Good afternoon. I'm Christine Sawinski, Project Coordinator for the Health for All program. The Health for All program is one of the variety of programs aligning with the Partnership for Healthy Communities mission to mobilize the university's research, educational, and public service capacities in collaboration with community partners to address health inequities. Joining us today, we have our community represented by 82% and our UD faculty and staff represented by 18%. Thank you all for joining. Our audience lines will remain muted throughout the presentation. Please use the Q&A box for any questions, and we will address those following the presentation. Any technical issues, please use the chat box to submit. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted soon to our website. Later this afternoon, you will receive an evaluation via email. We ask that you please take a moment to complete because we really do value your feedback and use it for future programming. So I would just like to take a moment and tell you a little more about the Health for All program. The Health for All program is a collaboration between the Lieutenant Governor's Office, Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield Delaware, and the University of Delaware's Partnership for Healthy Communities. And the program is funded by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield Delaware. The program enables faculty, staff, and students to support improvements in health outcomes in Wilmington's most vulnerable neighborhoods through community health services outreach. We are glad that you are joining us today for our summer webinar series. This is the last webinar in our summer programming. For any future programming, please visit our website. Today, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Nicolette Amato and Kelsey Ladix, who will be talking to us about stress management. And we also will have Tara Leonard with us as well. So again, thank you to our community and our UD faculty and staff for joining, and for our students and our faculty and staff for presenting with us today. Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I just wanted to take a second to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and listen to this presentation today. In our session, we're going to be discussing stress management as it relates to the transition back into fall of 2021. If at any point in time you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to enter those into the chat function at the bottom of your screen, and we will address them accordingly. So just to introduce myself a little bit more, my name is Nicolette Amato. I am a second-year master's student in the health promotion program here at the University of Delaware, and I am also working towards completing my clinical health coaching certification. My current area or population of interest is working within chronic disease management as well as within the pregnant women population. And my overall goal is to really help individuals improve their quality of life by making positive lifestyle and behavior changes. Kelsey, if you don't mind introducing yourself for a second.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey. So similar to Nicolette, I am also a second year's master's student in the health promotion program here at the University of Delaware. Additionally, I am working towards completing my certification in clinical health coaching as well. My current area of interest is working within basically the corporate setting to assist employees in maintaining a healthy professional and personal lifestyle by making positive lifestyle behavior changes. So that's my interest as well. Similar to Nicolette's is helping people make positive, healthy lifestyle behavior changes. Thank you, Nick.
Awesome, thank you. There we go. Okay, so before we get into the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of the presentation, I just want to go through a brief agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. So in today's session, we will be discussing different techniques on how to reduce stress, whether that be at home or at work. These might be some techniques that you haven't really heard of or thought of before. And we're also going to be discussing ways to successfully incorporate these techniques into your daily life. During the session today, you will be able to strategize some health-related action planning to help set you up for a successful fall transition. The overarching goal of this session is for you to be able to take away a few of the strategies that we'll be discussing and to use them to help manage your stressors as we transition into the fall, but not just into the fall, obviously for years to come and for stressors to come. One thing I'd like to note is please have either a pen and paper or access to an open document on your computer or smartphone available to you, just because we will be working through a couple individual-based activities today throughout the session. So I just want to make sure that you guys have the resources necessary to complete those. So again, before we jump right into the content of today's session, I do think it's important to recognize that it is no secret that within the last 2 years, we have all been through some pretty stressful times. The initial transition from work to now then working from home was difficult, but within the past couple months, we've really seen a lot of people be able to establish nice routines. And now we're kind of getting rid of those routines and transitioning back to working from the office. So we want you to know that it's extremely normal for these changes to cause an influx of stressors in our lives, but it is very important for us to find ways to successfully cope with those stressors before they become too unmanageable. So hopefully some of the strategies and techniques we talk about today, you'll be able to utilize in your work and home life in the future. So some things to consider, we have 4 main topics today that we're going to be talking through with you guys. The first one, prioritizing your time. Your time is very valuable, so why not make the most of it? Not only prioritizing your time outside of the office, but inside of the office can really help to enhance your personal and your professional life. In regards to organizing your home space or even your workspace, like your office or your office desk, it's possible for many of us to feel overwhelmed as we return to that old but still new. Obviously, with the state of the world right now, we are maybe returning to our old jobs in terms of our old offices, but regulations and things look a lot different. So the environment is still new. So try organizing the environment around you to help alleviate some of those overwhelming feelings. In terms of your mindset, like I said before, it is completely normal to feel an influx of stress, even negativity or just anxieties of the unknown. But it's really important for us to work on trying to reframe our mindsets and give ourselves grace if this initial transition back into working outside of our homes and in the office doesn't go as we planned. And also creating a ritual. That can be either a nighttime, a morning, whatever really works for your lifestyle. This is going to help you feel more prepared throughout the day. And having that established routine can also help you feel less overwhelmed, or I like to say scatterbrained, before leaving your home and heading into the office for the workday. Now, there's 2 other points that I briefly want to just mention here that are not really highlighted in this presentation, but Kelsey and I definitely thought were still important to just make note of. And the first one is relying on your community. We are all kind of in, I'll say, the same boat with this situation. And it's really important to recognize that you aren't alone and to utilize your resources, such as your colleagues, your family, your spouse, friends, really anyone that's in your circle, to lean on and help you through this transitional period. And the next one is practice having open conversations. A lot of times we try and internalize our stress or handle things by ourselves, but it's really important that if you're struggling or if you feel like you need help in any type of area with your stressors, reach out to your colleagues or your friends or your family. I'm sure they can definitely relate and also help you work through those. So now digging into the first topic that I had listed on that previous slide was prioritizing your time at home or away from work. So the textbook definition of time management is the process of planning and exercising conscious control of time spent on specific activities, specifically activities that you want to increase effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. What's really important to recognize, though, is that time management is about far more than just managing your time. It's really about being able to manage yourself in relation to time. So what do I mean by managing yourself? That can look like not allowing your tasks to completely consume your life, working towards decreasing the overall stress that you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis, working towards minimizing those feelings of overwhelms or anxiety, and allotting time throughout the day to really focus on all aspects of your health and wellness, whether that be your physical health, your nutritional health, social health, and the list goes on. Additionally, it also means to be able to willingly experiment with different methods and ideas to enable you to find the best way to make maximum use of your time. In the next coming slides, we will talk about a few different methods that you can use to just work on time management and prioritizing your time. But I think it's really important to acknowledge that if an initial method does not work for you after trying to implement it into your lifestyle, that's completely okay. Something that might work for me might not work for Kelsey, or it might work for Kelsey and vice versa. It's really important that we actively work towards finding what suits best for ourselves rather than just giving up completely when something doesn't go the way we had anticipated to. So this first reminder is probably the biggest one, and that's using calendars or your virtual reminders. So you can obviously have a paper calendar posted somewhere in your home or at work. You can use the infamous Google Calendar that I know is one of Kelsey's fan favorites, the virtual reminders in your phone or on your smart devices, anything of that nature that really helps you to plan your day ahead of time. So you can kind of organize your tasks that you want to complete from sunup to sundown. And it doesn't just have to be work related tasks, it can be things you want to complete at home. Self-care tasks that you want to complete that day. It can really be anything, just using those reminders as a way to organize those tasks and make sure you have time allotted to complete those. The benefits of also using these reminders is it allows you to identify patterns. So you can really find where you're most productive throughout the day, what maybe time frame. Maybe you are super productive between the hours of 1 and 3. So you want to put highly important tasks in that time frame, which we'll talk about in a little bit actually. And you can also focus and work on blocking out distractions. And lastly, you can use these reminders to set goals. Now, those goals can be professional goals that you might have in regards to your work. They can be physical goals, maybe related to your physical activity, nutritional goals related to things that you're consuming, family goals, the list goes on. It's really important to recognize that these reminders also provide you with tangible data, which is critical because the feedback that you're provided with using these calendars and reminders and such gives you the opportunity to recognize what you are doing on a daily basis that you might not even realize, the productivities levels that you have on a daily basis, and this can also show you what you're already doing well, what habits you've already formed, as well as what areas you may want to work on or to improve that can help to just overall manage your stress levels. Now, this is another method. We're going to briefly go through this. If you want to have your pen and paper out now, that's totally fine. I also did provide Christine with the PDF version of this Eisenhower's matrix. So if anybody at any time is interested in receiving that document, please let us know and we can get that for you. So let's dive into a little bit about the urgent important matrix. So as you can see on the right-hand side, this is essentially a 4-quadrant matrix that has a section for do, a section for plan, delegate, and eliminate. The purpose of this method is really to figure out the importance and the urgency of each task as it relates to your lifestyle. And it really can just be used as another tool to successfully manage your time and tasks. Again, something I really want to highlight is this chart and the tasks that you put into this chart are completely subjective. You get the opportunity to decide what category each task falls into based on your tasks, your goals, and your lifestyle. So something that I might consider important and urgent might not fall into that category in Kelsey's life. And that's completely okay. It's kind of the beauty of this matrix is we get to customize it the way we see fit. So for that upper left-hand quadrant, the do quadrant, essentially what that means is when a task is important and urgent, this is considered a high priority task. So this is probably a task that you want to put on your to-do list, so to speak, or ensure that you were able to complete it in a timely manner. Moving into the second quadrant or the plan quadrant, when a task is important, but it's not necessarily urgent, this is considered a task that you should plan into your schedule. So it's something that's important to you, but it's not life or death if you complete it right at this moment. So you want to make sure that you have it on your schedule and you have it planned out, but it's not something to be feeling extremely overwhelmed about if it doesn't happen, say, in that day or the next. The third quadrant is the delegate quadrant. So what this means is when a task is not important, but it is urgent, this can be considered a task that you should delegate, or I like to think of it as kind of like a handoff to another trustworthy individual. This will help to ensure that the urgency of this task is addressed and it's completed in a timely fashion. I know, and I'm sure many of us have the kind of go-getter mentality where we want to complete everything ourselves and we don't want to ask for help. And why that's all well and good, a lot of times that type of mentality really does provide or cause a lot of stress in our lives because we say yes to everything and just keep piling tasks on top of our plate that's already full. So being able to recognize if a task is urgent but it's not super important and you can hand that off to someone else to ensure that it gets done and it gets done well, that's a very valuable skill to have. And the last quadrant, the eliminate quadrant, is when a task is simply not important and not urgent at that time, it can realistically just be eliminated from your current priority list. Something that I want to make very clear though is just because you are eliminating a task at that exact moment from your priority list or your to-do list or your reminder list, however you would like to word it, that doesn't mean you just are completely forgetting about it forever. The whole point of this matrix is to really prioritize your time on things that are important and urgent in a timely fashion. So making sure you're getting things done in the order that they need to. And maybe you have a task that you're interested in doing, but it's just not a super high priority right now. That doesn't mean you can't ever come back to it or it can't change quadrants later on once you're able to complete certain tasks that might be a little bit higher on that list. I just wanted to put that out there because I know the word eliminate can be a little bit daunting in the fact of, oh, I'm getting rid of it completely and I'm never going to be able to do it again. That's not the case. It's just something that you might not be able to focus on right at this moment. And here is the portion where I would like you guys to have out your pen and paper and or something on your computer that you can write with. We're going to be taking a few minutes, I'd say probably 3 or 4 minutes to complete this individual based activity. Like I said before, if you have any questions or concerns, please use the chat. You also can throw your ideas or things that you are thinking about and brainstorming in your head. You can put them in the chat, but you definitely don't have to. Kelsey will be able to monitor the chat. So if anything comes up, she can let us know. But I'd really like you guys to take a few moments to brainstorm a few ideas or things that you would like to incorporate into your daily routine as we transition into the fall 2021. These ideas can be really anything that's suited towards you. I do suggest, though, you might want to consider incorporating something that you've been avoiding or putting off. So a lot of times when we're feeling super overwhelmed or stressed, or we have a lot on our plate with work, taking care of a family, spouse, kids, you name it, we tend to put off things that would help us. So like self-care, physical activity, things like that. So you might want to take this time to really think of a few ideas or activities that you might want to add on to your priority list for the upcoming months in the fall. This is a great opportunity for you to brainstorm the idea, break it into small manageable steps, and allow yourself to ease into the changes. So in health coaching, we consider this the stretch zone. So I don't want you to think of an activity that's going to cause you extreme panic or add to your stress levels by any means. That's not at all the point of this activity. I really want you to think of something that might be a little bit out of your comfort zone, but it's something you've been wanting to do, but you've just been avoiding or putting it off because there's other things going on outside of this specific idea. So I did create a brief list. It's definitely not exhaustive of the plenty of ideas that everyone can come up with, but just to kind of get your minds thinking about some different ideas that you could brainstorm. Some of the ones that I came up were at least 150 minutes of physical activity per week, allotted time for daily journaling or reading, gardening, painting, drawing, basically anything that brings you joy, going out to dinner with your family or friends, doing things socially, essentially any task that you feel will help increase your productivity levels, but also decrease your overall stress. So we can all take a few minutes to kind of jot some things down. If you want to put in the chat when you're done, that's great. If not, I'll give you about 3 minutes to work on that, and then we'll have Kelsey take over the second half of the presentation. Awesome. So Francine put into the chat, get up from my desk at least twice and take lunch away from my desk, walk at lunch at least 3 times a week. That's awesome. Those are all great ideas. Again, if anyone else would like to share their ideas, we'd be happy to share them with the rest of the group.
Just going to take another minute or so to kind of think more about that brainstorming. So Tracy put in the chat, I used to do 5 to 10 minutes of yoga most mornings and before I went to bed. And she said, I would like to incorporate that again. So that's a really awesome thing that you're doing, Tracy, and even better that you want to incorporate it again. All right. So we're going to kind of move on now. Feel free to still brainstorm, especially after the presentation. Right. So hi, everyone. Thank you, Nicolette, for that wonderful activity. So we're going to move on to some ways of, so we're going to move on to what procrastination is, why do we procrastinate, and how do we overcome these procrastinations? So these are kind of 9 ways to overcome procrastination. And before we start, what exactly is procrastination? So procrastination means delaying a task or maybe even several tasks that should be a priority. So why do we actually procrastinate? So there's a few reasons why we tend to procrastinate, including no clear deadline, inadequate resources available, for example, time, money, information, don't know where to begin. Sometimes the task just may be too big and we don't want to start it. Hence, the task may feel overwhelming. And lastly, fear or failure of success, or fear or failure or success. So how to overcome these procrastinations? So first, delete it. What do we mean by this? So what are the consequences of not doing the task at all? Think to yourself. Consider the 80-20 rule. Maybe it doesn't need to be done in the first place. Delegate. If the task is important, ask yourself if it's really something you're responsible for doing in the first place. Know your job description and ask if the task is part of your responsibilities. Is it possible that you can give this task to someone else? Next, do it. Do it now. Postponing an important task that needs to be done only creates feelings of anxiety and stress. So do it as early in the day as you can. Next, ask for advice. Asking for help from a trusted mentor, supervisor, coach, or expert can give you some really great insight on where to start and the steps for completing a project. Next, chop it up. Break large projects into milestones and then into actionable steps. Huge things don't look as big when you break it down as small as you can. Next, obey the 15-minute rule. So reduce the temptation of procrastination. Each actionable step on a project should take no more than 15 minutes to complete. Have clear deadlines. Assign yourself a deadline for projects and milestones and write it down on your daily planner or calendar, Google Calendar. Make your deadlines known to other people who will hold you accountable. Give yourself a reward. Celebrate the completion of project milestones and reward yourself for getting projects done on time or getting them done at all. It will provide positive reinforcement and motivate you towards your goal. Lastly, remove distractions. You need to establish a positive working environment that is conducive to getting your work done. Remove any distractions. All right, so next we're going to move on to organizing your home space. Right. So consider creating an organized environment in both your home and workplace to efficiently manage your time and productivity each day. And a lot of things that we talked about on the last slide kind of relate to this slide as well. So by eliminating clutter, setting up an effective filing system, gathering essential tools, and managing workflow, you will be well on your way to create an effective workspace. So some examples, again, declutter, empty, shred, get rid of anything or everything that you don't need or want. Look around your workplace. What haven't you used in a while? Sort and file new, old emails. Put items back in their spot after being used. Schedule time in each week to clean. So again, that also can go back to using that calendar, which Nicolette talked about in our beginning of the presentation. So next, we're going to be talking about reframing your mindset. So amplification. When we feel stressed, we amplify tasks that we are worried about or do not enjoy doing. This inevitably increases our overall stress levels, believe it or not. When we offer a new perspective and reframe our mindset, the amplification tends to cease. So you may be wondering, what exactly is amplification? The definition of amplify means to make something stronger, bigger, louder, or more important. So to make larger or greater as an amount, importance, or intensity. And when you amplify a task, it is likely to cause you more stress. So it is common for us to avoid completing certain tasks when we are feeling stressed or overwhelmed. It's part of life. We all do it. To overcome avoidance, we challenge you to choose an undesirable task, such as folding the laundry or vacuuming the house, and see how long it takes to complete. So next, we're going to be talking about an activity, which we kind of just talked about there, to overcome avoidance. So this, we're just going to dive more deeper into actually overcoming avoidance and decreasing that amplification. So this activity will help you focus, prioritize one task at a time, as well as will help you recognize that this task may not be as daunting as your mind is making it out to be. So hopefully this will help to increase your overall productivity while decreasing your stress levels. So here on the slide, we have selecting one task. So for example, of an activity may be cleaning your closet, purging old clothes, vacuuming your entire house, preparing healthy food options for the next week, etc. So then time yourself. Ignore everything else that's going on. Don't allow any breaks or interruptions. And then once you completed that task, give yourself a reward. So we're not actually going to be doing this activity today, but this is just something that you can jot down on your paper, take a screenshot, or think about it in the future. So one suggestion that we came up with was putting your cell phone on do not disturb when you're exercising. So you do not receive a text, call, or email notifications during your workout. That can also relate to when you're trying to get a task done, a work task. Put your phone on do not disturb, so that way you can get that task done more efficiently. This will not only help to avoid distractions, but you'll also be able to get your work or your workout done quicker and have more time throughout your day to focus on other tasks that you may want to complete. Right. So next, we're going to ritualize sleep, meals, and exercise. So basically, rituals can help transition lifestyle changes by reducing your need to rely on willpower. Instead of using discipline to exercise and follow a diet, you can also choose healthy behaviors that you like to do because those actions have meaning to you. So for example, establish a ritual before you sleep, plan meals for the next week, try to exercise for 1 hour 3 times a week. So in our fast forward moving world, rituals have the power to ground and stabilize us and keep us focused and purposeful. They increase confidence, provide us with a sense of security, alleviate the weight of grief, and help reduce anxiety. And above all, rituals are a surefire way to increase happiness. So with that being said, again, with sleep, establish that ritual before you sleep. Meals, plan your meals for the next week or even the night before. And exercise, try to exercise for 1 hour 3 times a week. And next slide, we're going to be talking more examples of rituals. So basically, laying out your clothes the night before, prepare your lunch, batch together activities, no phone, TV, etc. 30 minutes to 1 hour before bed, reading, journaling 15 minutes before bed, putting out your clothes for the next morning before bed, packing your lunch for the next day before bed. These are just all different examples that we came up with that maybe relate to you. And again, something that we put here may not relate to everyone, but it may relate to you or it may not. So make tomorrow's to-do list, update your calendar before bed, practice meal prepping on the weekends, and or pre-portioned snacks that you can take for lunch or have throughout the evening, as well as consider completing physical activity with a family member. This will kill two birds in one stone by exercising and being social with the people that you love. Right. So use rituals to maximize time. So kind of what we just said, killing two birds with one stone. During a break, read for 10 minutes. Fun fact, an individual can read approximately 33 books per year if they read a minimum of 30 minutes per day. Next, deep breathing and stretches. So I believe it was Tracy who said yoga. That's a great way to maximize your time. You're performing deep stretches and deep breathing while also trying to soothe yourself and get a good workout in. Clean off a small area, whether that be in your house, in your workspace. Cleaning off a small area can also maximize your time by, being able to find more stuff more easily. Update your journal. Set aside a lunch hour for personal errands, or set aside your lunch hour for reading that book or taking a long walk with friends. And then just a potential activity that relates to this is create a list of things you would like to accomplish before bed. So these again are just ideas that you can jot down or keep in mind when you're trying to maximize your time. Think of things you would like to accomplish after you unplug from work or your cell phone for the night. So again, after when you're laying in bed and you think of ideas, jot them down. Maybe this is something that you can accomplish the next day or tackle the next day. Keep this list in an accessible area and start tackling the task. Keep in mind that these should be stress relieving, help set you up to have that productive, manageable day ahead. And lastly, set a timer and cross off what you have completed and give yourself grace for what you did not. Again, we all realize that we have all gone through a stressful time, and whatever little bit helps. You guys, this is just something that you can do on a daily basis that can help you decrease your stress management during these stressful times. So with that being said, this is our last slide. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, put them in the chat. We'll answer them to the best of our ability. And for more information, please visit us at this link. It is the University of Delaware Health Coaching Clinic website. Thank you for your time.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nicolette and Kelsey, for presenting to us today about stress management. So like they had said, if you have any questions, please put those in the chat box now, and we'll be happy to answer those. So Nicolette and Kelsey, a question came up. What if I'm not stressed about my home space, but I'm stressed about my work and or office space? And I'm thinking this, people are going back, like, we're kind of stressed of not knowing what to expect. Anything you can give us on that?
Yeah, so realistically speaking, these different techniques that we talked about today can kind of be used for different spaces. So we did talk, we highlighted a bunch of things with home life, just because obviously the last, I'm just going to say 2 years, we kind of transitioned to having our home be our home, where we sleep, where we exercise, where we work. It kind of turned into our everything space. So we wanted to highlight that, because obviously transitioning now outside of your home and going back into the office is something that can be a little bit daunting now that we're kind of used to being at home. But all of these activities and these things that we discussed can be used in regards to work. So for example, the ritual activity that Kelsey was talking about, I like to think of just creating 5 rituals, so to speak, just jotting them down on a piece of paper. And that could be used for home life, but that can also be used for work. So when I get to work, I want to stay off my phone for the first hour. It's things like that. So you can really tailor these activities to use them in whatever space you feel most stressed in, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of this is interchangeable. Like we were saying, you can use that Google Calendar, your calendar to write down tasks that you need to do or would like to complete from home as well as your workplace. So yeah, a lot of this you can relate to personal life as well, personal and professional.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. Do you think it would be helpful to share a matrix with a family member or work partner so that we can share task ideas?
Yeah,
Good
actually, I think,
question.
oops, sorry, Kels.
Oh,
I,
no, no, you're good. That's
I
just a
think
great
that,
question.
yeah, I think that's a great idea. The beauty of using the matrix is that it doesn't just have to be individualized. If you're using it in a work setting, I think it's a great idea to share your ideas with a spouse or a family member, whoever's in your home with you. You can fill it out with them so you guys are kind of on the same page with tasks, whether that be like chores, just self-care tasks in general, but also in terms of if we're going to flip side, go to like the working aspect of with coworkers, that's a fantastic idea, especially with that whole delegate box that we were talking about earlier, making sure that you and your coworkers are on the same page, you understand who might be like the person in charge if a delegation has to occur, who might pick up that slack. I think that's a great idea. And also it can kind of just give insight on what might be important to you or urgent to you, again, might not be that way for somebody else. So just being able to kind of bounce ideas off each other. And again, just relying on your community or your colleagues to get you through it. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, going off of that, just really utilizing it even with management, especially during these times where we're stuck behind a screen most of the time, and your management and your team may not know what you're really going through. So, and what you have on your plate. Sometimes we often don't speak up because we just want to get it all done. But again, using that matrix to do, plan, and delegate stuff, as well as what you can eliminate, is a great thing to show your management and different people on your team, whether that's your family or your coworkers.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. What should I do if unexpected stressors arise?
Yeah, so that's just life. I feel like a lot of times unexpected stressors just arise, especially nowadays. There's a lot of what's going to happen next in the world. And I think, again, using social support, people around you to help you get through that. Again, finding different ways, different rituals to help you to minimize stressors that come up. Again, jotting them down the night before. Something that's on your mind saying, oh, I have to get this done tomorrow. Instead of focusing on it right there in that moment where it's going to kind of hinder your sleep, just write it down. And then the next day, look at it and be like, okay, is this still something that I really need to look at? Is this still something that is a priority to me? And if not, then, maybe plan ahead or delegate it to someone else if you really don't need to do that. Say like, oh, I really need to clean the house. Maybe you can ask your kids to help you delegate that task to someone else since you have meetings. And then if it's not really relevant anymore, eliminate it. So again, it kind of all goes back to that matrix. That is something that can be very beneficial if unexpected stress arises, and as well as social support.
Yeah, going off that for a moment. Another thing that I want to highlight that we kind of talked about in the beginning is giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
Just as Kelsey said, stressors are a part of life. And now our stressors are intensified with the state of the world and everything that's going on, what we're involved with. So it's okay if things don't go as planned, if your schedule that you had planned, changes a little bit, that's okay. Give yourself grace, recognize that it's not life or death, like things will get done. Don't allow it to kind of consume you. And if you feel like it's getting to that point where you're extremely overstressed, you can't manage it, go back and think about those activities or just those main points of, okay, who can I rely on? What kind of mindset do I need to put myself in? Whether that be taking 5 minutes to, okay, I need to kind of disconnect, so to speak, and relax and take time for myself to breathe and recognize that I'm going to get through this. I just need a moment to kind of digest it. I think that's also really important to recognize as well.
Great, thank you. And one last question we have is, how complex should my nighttime ritual be?
Yeah, so
this is a perfect question for Nicolette.
Yeah, realistically, there's no rule. So your ritual and my ritual could look very different. It can be as simplistic as you want or as complex as you want. I will say, I don't know if I recommend it being super complex, especially in the beginning, starting like developing a ritual, just because when you add too many things on top of each other, it could get a little complicated. And we never want your ritual to become a stressor for you. So I recommend, and this is just my personal opinion, there's no like scientific evidence behind this, but just incorporating one or two things, see how it goes, try it for a month, try it for a week, just see how it works. And if it doesn't work for you, okay, let's try something else. And eventually, as time passes, you're going to kind of get into the groove of things. Habits are going to start to be formed. So then it might be okay to say, okay, I'm going to add 10 minutes of stressing. Don't do that. Stretching, 10 minutes of stretching and reading. So you want to start small, start slow, and kind of work your way up to like that sweet spot for you. But again, only you can really answer the question of, is this too much for me? Is this too little? Realistically, you just want your ritual to help you unwind, kind of, take a breath, disconnect from any stressors that are happening at work, at home, etc., and just use it as a way to recharge. So as complex or as simplistic as you would like, I think is the best way to answer that.
That was a great answer. Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. At this time, we have no more questions from our audience. So I would like to take this moment again to thank Nicolette and Kelsey for being here today and presenting to us about stress management with all these wonderful ideas. And also a thank you to our community and UD faculty and staff for joining us. Like was mentioned earlier, I will be sending an email out later today with the evaluation, and I will also include the matrix that was referred to today in this presentation. At any time, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to put you in touch with our presenters or with health coaching here at University of Delaware with contact information. So again, thank you to everyone for being here and have a great day. Thank you.